Welcome.
So they're on.
I'm Robin Openshaw. I'm the Green Smoothie Girl online. And this is John Kellogg. He is not on Facebook. You don't like Facebook.
I hate Facebook. Sorry, but I do.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he hates you for being on Facebook.
No.
So I live on Facebook and he lives on Instagram, and never the twain shall meet.
Oh, there we are.
Oh, we can sort of see ourselves now. All right. We're off and running. So please tell us where you're from. We're going to totally read everything you say afterwards. But welcome to this Facebook Live. So John and I have been together for a few years now, and we have an amazing life in Park City, Utah, where we love to ski and hike and do yoga. And we have had a lot of amazing conversations during this whole period, the last few months. And this new phase of the whole scamdemic seems to have taken let's create a lot of race tension. And what's really ironic and weird is that, don't you feel like it's like your race and mine, that they're trying to pit us against each other? Have you thought about
that? Somewhat in those terms, but more so in the in the terms that the media is just trying to, I don't even feel like it's pitting. I can't tell if it's pitting people against each other so much as they're just constantly, if it bleeds, it leads, and if it bleeds, it leads. And so they're throwing out news stories that are highly emotional. And so it gets everybody worked up.
Have you guys been worked up?
And channeling their energy into the most channeling their energy on the most negative aspects of what's going on. And it is, the stories that you see, especially the George Floyd ones, it's very traumatizing. Firsthand look at a man taking another man's life, and the injustice that is coming with it, because the officer that killed George Floyd was a white man and George Floyd was a black man. And so America's track record isn't very good, especially the way the media highlights everything. They make it seem like they definitely make it into a race battle.
It was like race baiting to me.
Race baiting, yeah, you could say that, but the way they would say it is that this white officer killed a black man, and so
it's not as simple as it seems.
Yeah, it's complex, but on the surface, it's easy to get caught up in the emotion of it.
Here's our neighbor Sharon. She says, "You speak truth. If it bleeds, it leads." Mm-hmm. I've never heard that. Somehow that's like the first time I've heard that phrase since it came out of your mouth here. But let's back up here. So we've been together for a few years, and how do we meet?
We met at a really nice ski resort area called Sundance. It's not too far from where we're at now. And I saw Robin when I entered into this restaurant, and was just hoping for a chance to meet and talk to her, and that chance happened. And
did you walk up to me and my 6 girlfriends
at
the dinner table?
I thought about it.
You did?
But I knew I didn't want to get shot down.
Yeah,
I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. There's some guys that can. They go up to a table of 6 and slay it, and then
never do that. Never do that, because it's almost like the woman has to shoot him down, like for the sake of like looking good to her friends. So that's good you didn't do that. So
for girl power.
So I got up and walked away from the table, and you like jumped out of your seat and came over to me, and I wasn't planning on telling this story, but you guys want to know what his line was? This wasn't like the first thing he said to me, but he said about half an hour later, he said, "Do you know why I wanted to talk to you instead of your other 6 friends? You guys are gonna love this. This is so terrible." And I was like, "What?" Thinking it was going to be something really great. And he goes, "They're all too skinny."
Look at me sitting next to her now. So I don't know if that was a bad line or not.
I was like, that is the worst compliment I have ever been given. Sorry, Sharon, you had to hear that. You had to hear that story too. How do you guys like that? Would you please share with John?
I like Mary Height. worked out.
It worked out. Yeah. So, hey, Levon in Bakersfield, California. Like, seriously, I think you're in my audience in Bakersfield when I spoke there 8-9 years ago when I was on speaking tour, 450 cities in 6 years. So, good to see you again here. I love when you guys tell me where you're from. And hello, where did all my questions go? All right, I wrote down all the questions that you had for John because there were some really, really good ones. But I want to know from you how you feel about John's terrible, terrible compliment. So make sure.
What's there to want to know about?
Sharon says, "Ooh, back off, white girl."
Yeah.
All right, so that's just the nutshell version of how we met. We've been together ever since. It's been really the most remarkable relationship of my life.
Yeah, me too.
And I don't know how I would even survive the last 3 months if you didn't walk in the door at the end of every day, because we've been researching together and we're just absolutely on the same page with this. And I've learned a ton from John because he's a huge history buff and he's really gone deep, like thousands of hours deep into not the history that you get in school, but the true history of many cultures of the world. And he's really deep in who's funding, who's behind, for instance, Black Lives Matter. And that's why I thought to do this Facebook Live. We haven't ever really done anything like this before. You've never been on my podcast, for instance. But let me tell you a few things about John because he's a pretty interesting dude. So he has a sales job here in Utah. Utah's got to be the whitest state in the country. And I can't prove this, but the city he grew up in of Orem has got to be the whitest city in America. You could literally go weeks of being out and about in public without seeing a person of color. I mean, you see Latinos, but you literally just don't see Black people. My former father-in-law grew up about an hour south of there in Nephi. And granted, this was a lot of years ago. And he said he saw a Black man for the first time when he was 20. So have I ever told you that? But John has he has a sales job and he has to go to a lead, go to their home and go in their house and sell them a $5,000 product. And he's one of the top 3.
A water system.
Yep, in the company. He's like pitching right now. But he goes in and tests their water and he sells them a water system. It's extremely expensive and he succeeds over 1/3 of the time. And he's one of the top 3 in the company. We'll definitely ask him what his experience has been with racism. But I'll tell you some more interesting things about him. He's one of 14 children. And the 14 children in his family are Indian, Latino, Black, white, Asian. Did I miss anybody?
No, that's it.
He's a former competitive Muay Thai fighter. You can see a little clip of him on my personal page when I was announcing this. And, you know, people call, I think I've heard your mom say that you're the UN family. It was almost like her goal to be like the United Nations.
Fair description of us, yeah.
Yeah. What was that
Very
like for
fair.
you?
I mean, I grew up into it. I was adopted right off the shelf as a brand new baby. So it was everything I ever knew. So I didn't really see us as this multicultural family. I just viewed us as our family. And it's once you get out and about, you know, as I get a little bit older and meet more people and they see my family and they're, you know, then they'll be like, wow, you guys' family is super diverse.
And very big.
Yeah, huge. That was usually the first thing because with 14 siblings, we didn't all live in the same house. Sorry, it's a big gap from the oldest to the youngest.
Most of the time,
big age gap. So yeah, there was usually, I would say on the average, probably around 10 people living at home though, growing up.
And then he went on an LDS mission, and he served in the Bronx and Long Island. Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island. Queens, not the Bronx. That's it.
No, not the Bronx. That wasn't in my area.
And then he lived for 10 years in Los Angeles. So this is one of the things that I got asked the most about you. Different places that I posted, different pages that I run. Have you faced? You're turning 40 in a few months.
Yeah.
Have you faced significant? And that was actually my resistance to him. You should know that John had before me never been in a serious relationship with a white woman. And I had definitely never been in a serious relationship with a Black man. And my resistance to John was pretty big. And I kind of pushed him away for a long time, but it had everything to do with your age. And your race was, completely irrelevant to me. But we didn't fall in love because we were attracted to a certain race. Would you say?
No, not at all. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. What
It's
happened
like,
there?
Because I like what I like. I don't need it to be, a certain anything. It's like if I like it, if I have an attraction to it to start,
Are you calling me
then
it?
to you, I'm sorry, I know, right? Well, I'm sorry, in the relationship way.
Her would be a good. would be
Right.
a
No,
good
I mean
thing.
in a relationship, not to her, like you're
Yeah.
not, her isn't my relationship. It is my relationship. And but I like the I just like the qualities that you have. I want to, I want to be able to talk and have good conversations. I want to be attracted to you, all those sorts of things. And so I've never been the type to how you say it, like put it in a box or, confine myself to a certain,
Type.
a certain type.
Which makes
as
sense
far
because
as
you grew up in
culture,
the
race,
UN.
color, and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. And that could very well be a big part of why I view things the way that I have, is because I grew up around everybody, with all sorts of skin color and things like that. So I didn't need to be like, I'm not going to tell my sister, well, I like you less because you're white and I like you more because you're
That wouldn't fly in your family.
it would be weird. Like that would be kind of weird now that I think about it. So
We did have a conversation, I think a few months in, and I talked about my racism. And I don't have any racism, and I had to say, please listen to me, let me have this conversation with you. And my racism wasn't, I don't want every good thing for my brothers and sisters of color, or that I'm not attracted to a certain race, or that I have any of those harmful types. It was that my experience with Black men had been that they're players. They just are looking to score. And one of the things that really shocked me about you, because I had this racism, and it still qualifies, is that you just kept showing up.
If you're caught, were you sure you want to say it like that?
Well, I don't want to call it that, because I
didn't feel like it was a racism,
But when we categorize people, don't you think that is at least a mild form of racism? To me, it's not like I want to go back to Jim Crow laws. For me, it was I sort of had a stereotype. Maybe stereotype is a better word.
Yeah,
right?
that would be more fair to yourself.
Yeah,
especially in this climate.
Yeah, well, we have to be really careful. But we confronted that, because I brought it up to you, basically saying you have completely defied the mild stereotype that I had, and you just kept showing up. You'd answer my texts, and if you said you were coming over at 9, you showed up at least by 9:30, and you just have always been a man of your word, and you're always there to serve me, and you always love me. And you, in fact, let's just skip to this one. Jana had a question. What's it like? What's your experience been dealing with a powerful woman like me? And I said, are you sure you don't want me to ask white women like me? And she goes, no, I want powerful. I don't give a crap whether you're white or not. What's it like? She probably means pretty advanced in my career, I'm a bit older than you. He looks younger than he is, just FYI. So
well, that's what he said, almost 40.
Yeah.
But
Jana's question.
Right. I just know what I like. And if it wasn't, it wouldn't have worked out. We wouldn't have made it this far, if it wasn't for having good chemistry and all the qualities that we both want to have in a good relationship. Because that would have been.
Is it scary to be with a strong woman, or
no?
The reason it works for me is that John doesn't criticize how I am, or tell me I have to be a different way, or get in my face. You're alpha in all the right ways, and let me be me, flexible with me.
Right. And in my past experience, from the relationships that I'd had previously leading up to this, it was to meeting you and being in our relationship, it was really nice for me, because you just you're busy doing your thing, and that's great, you know, because you're just working, you're doing your thing, and I don't need to. I don't know. I'm not verbalizing very well.
Not needy.
Yeah, you're not needy. Yeah, like you can be if you want to be, and I'm more like I'm more want to how do you say it? Like I want to serve you more because you're that way. I want to be like around you more.
It's like we don't need each other,
yeah,
and so when we come together, it's because we want to.
Right.
That's how I see our
relationship. We consider, if we were to consider consider ourselves like animals. You'd be a cat and I'd be a dog, and you're definitely a cat because I like it because it's just right. Because you'll come up and if you want cuddling and everything like that, it's cool. But you run away from me like if you don't want any attention or anything like that too. So it's
that's how that's sort of a construct I told him early on, is like, I'm a cat. When I want to love the hell, to be honest, a lot of you. But sometimes I'm just like, I'm doing my thing. And so you don't push me too far. So I love that. Okay, let's get into the race stuff. Have you faced significant racism in your life? You know, now that you've been 40 years on the planet, what's been your experience?
I have. I have. I had a little bit growing up. Nothing terribly bad though. I remember the first time I saw it, I was in maybe 4th grade, and I'm like, I guess am I 10? Are we 10? 4th grade?
Something like that.
Yeah, 10, 11 years old. And we were playing kickball, and the kid I was out in the outfield, and this kid kicked the ball, and he had the big boomer leg, and so everybody was like, you know, way back, playing way back. And anyway, he kicks the ball, pops way up in the air, and it ended up falling or landing at me. I ended up catching it, and he got mad because he's used to hitting a home run like every time. And I remember him after he kicked the ball, he's all, I hate that stupid. And he said the N-word, yeah. And that was like the first time I'd ever heard it.
Parents taught it to him. You have to know when someone's 10 years old and they say that, they were taught that.
Yeah, it must have been, because I don't think I'd ever even heard it.
You learned it from a kid saying it to you at the age of 10.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's growing up around all white people, and Utah is not free of racism. It was the last bastion of it really in the country when it officially ended in 1978 with the LDS Church, when they allowed blacks to be full members in the church.
The priesthood.
Yeah. And so and I talked to people I knew that grew up in like Lehigh and other small towns where there was full tilt racism over there. Even though there was like no black people at all there. I don't know, freaking backwards, but it's what it is. But that was the first time I had heard it. I wasn't upset or didn't hurt my feelings bad. I was just like, well, that's kind of weird, you know. I knew I didn't like it. Like it felt wrong, you know, knowing that I knew the term. I hadn't heard people use it or anything like that previously, is what I mean to say. But to hear it in that context, that's when I knew it was like, oh, that's a thing, you know.
And then in high school, it was 1% black. We figured that out last night. 1% black at the high school he went to.
Less than 1, but
yeah, probably less than 1, because the other ones that you were counting weren't really.
Yeah, there was like that I can think of. There was 3 boys and 2 girls, and the 2 girls were sisters, but they looked like black girls, but they were Blackfoot Indians. And then the other 2 guys, one of them lived in my neighborhood. His name was Steve. He was just a regular guy like me in the same neighborhood. And then there was another guy named James, and his parents actually were from Africa. And so, that was like all 5 of us in high
Okay,
school.
so they're going for it. They're asking the big questions. So Kathy says, have to go make dinner. John is not a day over 25. Yeah, he's turning 40. And Kimberly is saying, what's the age difference between you? I'm 53 and he's turning 40. So Brandy says, John is a looker. You guys are a cute couple. Thank you so much. He is a looker, that is for sure. John wants to know Ryan's saying, what's your earliest experience with racism, which you accidentally just answered.
Yeah.
Classic rational female, a cat. I get it. That's me too, Christy is saying. So, and you got Teresa saying he looks Hispanic-ish. You get that all the time, don't you?
Yeah, I could pass for Caribbean, Hispanic.
Which let's go from there to you taught me this. One of the things that's super weird is, you know how Nancy Pelosi and Benjamin Netanyahu, they all got down on their knee and they took a knee and they had this African thing around their neck. Like, you can kind of tell how he feels about that. And he's probably not the first Black man that you've seen reacting to that. Like, how do you feel about that? And also, like, how do you feel about the whole calling y'all African American?
I feel like, and I'm just speaking for me, let me qualify everything I say. It's just my perspective. Yep. I don't speak for the community. I don't speak for everybody. I'm light skinned, so they take everything I say with a grain of salt anyway. Mm-hmm. But I relate. I think the feeling that I have is a pretty common sentiment as well. I feel like that whole Nancy Pelosi, Benjamin Netanyahu, all those people wearing the neck thing, the African print one. That's cool if you're actually from Africa, but I'm not. We didn't grow up there. We're not. This isn't Africa. Like,
you've never even been there.
I've never seen Black folks when I lived in LA, when I lived in New York. I never saw anybody wearing that. I saw plenty of Africans over there. I never saw any of them.
It'd be super weird for me if somebody came up with like a British flag and was like, "You're British," and I'm like, "I've never what?" Like, you know, because and plus, like, I don't think a lot of white people know that plenty of Black people didn't come from Africa. Mm-hmm. Did you guys know that? Like, most, like, it's actually super not politically correct to say African American anymore, because maybe Nancy Pelosi doesn't know. I didn't either. That there's plenty of Black people who never came originally from Africa.
Right. That's if you do, the more and more information's coming out about that here in the internet age, thank goodness. And it's really helped to give Black folks an identity that's been missing and mislabeled for so long. So when you get a Pelosi and a Netanyahu and all these political people dressing up like Africans, it seems super disingenuous, because it's like, who do you represent? You know, you're not representing the people that live here, because, or at least you're not the majority of us. You're not representing us because we're not African. We don't dress that way. Very few people even celebrate what's that holiday? The one that they have, is it around Christmas?
Is it
Kwanzaa? Mm-hmm. Kwanzaa. I mean, some people do, and you know, great for them and everything like that. Hey, that's awesome, but it's not, as far as I can tell, the majority and by far the huge majority of Black folks are not what they're trying to, you know.
So it doesn't feel like a sense of kinship when you see Nancy Pelosi wearing the thing, getting down.
It's so tone deaf. It's totally tone deaf, in my opinion. Totally out of touch. Just like, where do you even get that?
The condescending.
Could be. Mm-hmm. It's definitely like appropriating, it's appropriating, and it's what's it called? Like, not stereotyping, but it's appropriating, and crap, I can't think of the word. But
is it like where you're hijacking a
cultural that's what concept? That's what the cultural appropriation. That's cultural appropriation. It's another word that I'm saying, but I just don't.
So Janet says hi from Broward County. And then lots of people commenting on what ethnicity you look like.
I'm mixed. I'm biracial, Black and white.
Julie from Payson, his mother is 16 years old, and he has a theory. We actually heard this from an Uber driver,
right?
That when you have a parent who's super young, that you always look like perennially young.
Yeah.
was a super interesting concept. We
thought
just
it was
heard
too.
in the back of a Uber like
Yeah.
a couple years ago.
Mhm.
How long have we been together? A little under 3 years. Teresa Palmer saying, hope we can see a wedding.
Soon enough. We'll see.
Krista says, do you get any pushback as a biracial couple?
No, not that I've seen, not that we've
Nope.
experienced.
Never. Janet says 53 and 40. No way you are lying about both. LOL. Janet, you're officially our favorite person on this. Well, mostly me because he gets it all the time. It's no big deal for him. So
Like go to Kimberly.
Kimberly says lighter skinned blacks don't experience blatant racism as much as darker skinned blacks. Like, could absolutely be true. We are only in the skin we're in. We don't know. Lighter skin tends to pass for white and are given privilege. Can you ask John if he agrees with
Right.
that? Your two younger brothers are much darker skin.
Right. And I actually, now that I meant to finish the story, when I first experienced racism as a little kid, and like you said, he was speaking out of ignorance, like he was just taught that, because I was friends with him later, like, and wasn't even a thing. So it was like,
he probably dropped his racism when you became a real life human being.
Right. If he was even like, if he even understood what the heck he was saying, because later we played on football teams together and stuff like that, and I never heard flack from him or anything like that.
So I know my brother,
but like, but in answer to Kimberly, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I gave a qualifier when I was starting. I'm saying I don't speak for the Black community because I got plenty of my friends that were back in LA. They're dark complected, and they give me grief about it because like I said, they take everything with a grain of salt, or like you said, with the culture, the stereotype is light skin doesn't experience it like black, full black does. Yeah, sure, that's true, but I think, and my little brothers, I know my younger brother, the one next under me, he experienced it quite a bit in sports over here. Not to where Corey
might show up here.
Yeah, not to where he was. I don't know, and he could speak for himself. But as far, I would go to a lot of his games and stuff, and I saw it. It was just that tension that you could feel in the audience, because he was really good. He was a much superior athlete than the rest of the kids he was competing against. And so all these parents would be in the crowd all mad that he was just beating the brakes off their kid, but there's nothing they could do about it.
And I bet he was the only Black kid on the team, because this is in where
not the only kid of color, but he was the only Black kid on his team. Because there was Polynesians also on his team, and Hispanic kids.
Interesting. Okay, so my brother, I think it was Dave, wanted to know, how have you been treated by the police? And he's not, by saying that, he's not assuming that you have had criminal interactions, but we've all had interactions with the police.
Sounds like a fair assumption to me, Dave.
He's not even on Facebook. He's going to watch this later, but so what's your interaction been with the police? Have you been treated with respect?
Yeah, well.
How much interaction have you had with the police?
Yeah, right. I've had a little bit. I wasn't always this angel face that you see now. I wasn't always into, or I was free of getting in trouble when I was younger. A lot of issues, not a lot of issues, but I had issues growing up.
Come on, just say it. You smoked some weed.
Smoked weed.
Stole some beer.
Stole beer. Got in fights. Stole stuff. Just typical shit that any troubled kid has growing up. I've obviously grown out of it long time ago, because it was just teenage years. But I did have interactions with the police, many occasions. I was in the system for a little while, but I can't say that I ever had any overtly racist behavior from the police. I was with my friends who were all white kids, and we got in trouble, and we all ended up in one situation. We all ended up in handcuffs. We all were in the same, we all got a ride back to the station together. Like, we never, everybody got the same treatment.
No violence at the hands of police.
No, they didn't beat us up. Nothing harsh, nothing, anything like that.
I was trying to think of, just to be completely fair, because I went to grad school and studied, systemic racism and where there is racism. And I do believe, even though I believe that in 40 years you've experienced remarkably little racism in a very, very, very white place, I believe that there is systemic racism in some places.
I do.
And you guys tell me, say more. I really love what you guys are talking about here because all of you are having a really honest conversation, which is what we wanted to do. Jess is saying it's disrespectful of them to wear the kente cloth. That's the word we were looking for. It's almost more offensive, Krista says, because they're showing how uneducated they are. Yeah, that's really kind of what you were expressing, right?
What's Ryan saying?
Ryan's saying, John, will you share the history of the influence of political parties on Black Americans, the policies passed, the impact they had? That's a big subject.
Yeah,
for
that's pretty complex.
But the essentials.
I'm not that versed, but
Republican Party was actually founded by far more Black people than white people. It was a committee of, I want to say, like 80 people, and the vast majority of them were Black. And Ryan's asking you, not me, but Democrats were.
John, will you share the history?
Right, but you're not giving me anything, so I'm giving it.
Yeah,
I've been studying this stuff.
I've got history. Yeah.
Democrats are behind Dred Scott, where Black people were called more animal than human. They're behind the Jim Crow laws. They're behind founding the KKK. People get very angry about this because they'll go find a link that says this isn't true, but it actually is.
Who was Hillary Clinton's mentor? That Bird guy. It was like he mentored a bunch of people that are like super high up political figures now. So that's still today. Their influence is still on,
they don't know what Congress that Bird guy now. Is. Hillary Clinton.
I don't remember I don't know his first
name. So she has a mentor who is what's his stance? It's a super leftist.
No, her mentor was like straight. I'm pretty sure he was in the KKK.
Really?
Yeah, Robert Byrd. Robert Byrd. He was very, very racist.
So the Democrat and people will just say, yeah, but then the Democrat and Republican parties switched. I wouldn't say they totally switched. It's for sure the Democratic Party has tried to hijack race issues as we're the anti-racist ones. For sure that's happened. And I don't believe that Democrats are all racist. No, that wouldn't be fair to say.
Right.
But are you what do you think about Joe Biden saying you're not Black if you don't vote Democrat?
I thought that was super. If I were a Democrat and as a Black man, I would be like, you lost me, man. Like, sorry, you don't. Just like, what gives you the right to think that you automatically get my vote because I'm a Black guy? Like, you don't think there's anything that you do as a politician that it has an impact on my life? Like the stuff that you're determining presidential candidates in that situation.
Yeah.
So it's like, you better have some policy that's gonna help me, my community, all the people of my race, because we're targeted, we're singled out. So if you're gonna get our vote, you better do some things that are gonna help us as families, in politics, and as businessmen and women to be successful and add to the success of America.
Catherine how did you two get together? So we told that at the beginning before you jumped on.
Catherine.
Seven. I was out with 6 of my girlfriends, and he saw me coming in, and he was like looking for an opportunity, and I walked away from my girlfriends to go listen to the band. The restaurant we were at up at Sundance, and he jumped up out of his seat, and we just started talking, and I ended up having him drive me back. Having me drive me back home because all my girlfriends left.
Wait, I wanted to finish one more thing on the race thing.
Yes.
I do like as far as policies, it's been proven and it's shown like there's a lot of policy written that was very racist though. And I'm sorry, I'm not well versed in the specifics on it, but I know as far as in cities like in Baltimore, and I think, I don't know if they're still in place or not, but they had laws written that prohibited Blacks from being able to move into specific neighborhoods.
Segregation laws,
right?
The Jim Crow laws were on the books for really late, like 40, 30 years ago.
Long after Jim Crow was supposedly ended, there was still a ton of it. And I don't know if we want to get into it here or now or later, but I definitely believe that there's a lot of systemic, it's not going to be written into law, but the Black community was targeted to be destroyed. So from the family unit to to laws written to throw them in jail way easier than anybody else. Laws that were specifically targeting Black men for drugs that they were using, like the crack and cocaine laws. Like cocaine was like a class C misdemeanor or something like that, and having crack was like a felony or something crazy. Like the gap between the two was huge, and the crack possession, which crack was only in the Black neighborhoods.
That's right.
So
there is some weird baked in racism.
Completely.
Do you feel like it's pretty much been removed?
Right. I think we're doing a dang good job nowadays to get everybody on to get rid of those laws. Like people are, having a little bit of an impact on it. But the war on drugs still rages on, and that war itself, I think, has been probably one of the most crippling things to the American and to the world. To
end racism, it's been an impediment to end racism in America and the world.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because we're doing so much damage to so many other countries from it.
Anne Marie says, my husband is black, Nigerian, and never experiences racism. And then she says most white people love him.
Well, white people love everybody loves the Black guys, and the Black girls. Like, who doesn't? They're our favorite entertainers, athletes. That's where they are. If they're doctors or lawyers or salesmen, or everybody loves a Black guy at their workplace. If you're not the Black guy, you know what I mean.
Okay, I want 30-second answers here because we have a lot I want to cover. We're going to get into what he thinks about Black Lives Matter. We're going to, everybody wants to know, okay, we know what not to do. Don't say African American. Don't get on one knee, which the word is genuflect. Sorry, lots of people saying, what does genuflect means? It means get down on one knee, which a lot of Black Americans are speaking up and saying, don't do that. Don't be weird. But 30 seconds, how did the parents and families of your white friends treat you, John? Any complaints?
No complaints. My friends, growing up, all my friends' parents were always kind to me. They just treated me just like one of their own kids.
Jane won a blender from us years ago. I don't know why I always remember that about you, Jane. I'd really like your opinion, John and Robin, about saying you're African American or Mexican American rather than just American if you're born in this country. It feels like it keeps racism in the forefront if you use both. Am I wrong? Why not say you're American with such and such heritage? That's a good question. And John doesn't actually know his heritage because he has chosen not to go get the 23andMe test or whatever because he doesn't want his DNA sold to Merck. That's what 23andMe actually did. I think it was Merck. Maybe it was Pfizer. And he feels like, his parents are the people who raised him. And we have this conversation all the time. And I would not rest until I knew who my biological parents were just to get more information. He has no interest in it. But I think that's a valid question. He doesn't actually know what his heritage is. So that would be one issue with him. And he actually has not enjoyed this whole conversation where, I didn't have to pull teeth to get him to come on my show here. But I was just like, hey, you and I hardly ever even talk about race. We're just John and Robin, right? I'm not a British American or a Swedish American or Swedish British mix, but when we do have to discuss the race issue, I think that there's some value in the identifiers. But that's your answer.
Well, I think it kind of covers the whole BLM thing too. Is I feel like it's very the labels. It seems like America and the media just keeps this confusion going for Black people because they're calling us Black in one breath and African American in another, and we used to be Negro, and they've had all these different titles for Black people. It's like, well, why is that? How come? Or I don't know. It just feels really disingenuous.
Black people who chose those. I think it's the leaders of NAACP, and they put that out there.
Right. Well,
we'll talk about Black Lives Matter. Does that movement represent you and in your research? Because John's the one who educated me about all these issues, and I've really enjoyed learning from him because he's like me in the sense he doesn't look to mainstream media for his information because it's the most dumbed down propagandistic source of information you could ever get. I mean, Thomas Jefferson said you're more educated if you read nothing than if you read newspapers, which was the mainstream media of Thomas Jefferson's age. But We really look for independent media and people who have no agenda. And he was way down the rabbit hole long before any of this all happened. So what's your opinion on Black Lives Matter and what happened with Derek Chauvin and George Floyd? What do you think's going on?
I feel like with BLM, that I look to who is funding that. That seems to be a really key factor with the Black Lives Matter movement, is that they're being funded constantly. It's not like this organic group,
Are they being funded by people who care about Black lives?
Right. Exactly.
That's
why I look to who funds it, and it's the Open Society. You can pull that up online, and then if you see who's funding Open Society, it's George Soros money.
I think the Clintons too.
And yep.
And do they have a history of actually furthering agenda of uplifting Black people?
Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah,
they would like to say they do.
They also fund Antifa,
right?
Who's been out there doing this garbage in the last week.
So that seems a little counterintuitive, right? To take a tragedy like, and so this ties into the George Floyd and Derek Chauvin. George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, that was one of the worst things we've ever seen on in the media. I saw mine first through my social media. I don't watch TV, so I didn't see it there. I just saw it through my Instagram, and it's very traumatizing. It's really disturbing. The guy's just sitting there kneeling on his neck and just as nonchalant as you can be.
There's about 40 things wrong with it.
Yeah,
anybody watching can see something is very, very wrong here. It didn't even look like an act of aggression. It looks like passive actors, all of them. To me.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things going on there. But to keep it a little more compact is, so that happened. It was horrible. And it sparked off what deserved to be protested. Like, if the police handling that sort of detaining him that way, they should have been protested. Like, they deserved it, to have protesters at their door telling them, hey, that's not right. If you're consider that policing, then you guys got to rethink your whole strategy here, because that's.
But then 4 Black men have died since George Floyd's death.
Okay, so
innocent Black men.
Right. So the protests start. So that's one thing, though, to protest the wrong that was done to George Floyd. But then rioters started, right? And you see the video of the guy who the first AutoZone, if I understand it right, the AutoZone that was vandalized. You see a guy with a black umbrella, dressed in all black, with a hammer, breaking all the windows there, and it's caught by people on a cell phone. Now, the videos that are allowed to get put out online, are they allowed to be, that's the question that's come to my mind here lately. Is it allowed to be seen? Do they want that to be seen on purpose? Or is that actually someone's, a genuine, cell phone footage, caught by a witness to it, and they're actually spreading it for righteous reasons? Or is it, someone just sending provocative videos out? I'm kind of torn on that right now. But that stoked the riots. Then it stoked the looters and the rioters, and those people were Antifa, and Antifa has a terrible track record of being violent and destructive. I've seen the video where the Antifa kids are blocking old people from crossing the street. And they're supposedly stopping fascism, but they're burning down neighborhoods to stop fascism. And I just don't see the correlation there.
That's probably a good answer to, let's see, now it's gone away on my screen. Some very well written questions, and it just went away. I really want to give you some credit. There's so many questions that it went away. But the good question about, like, do you think that people are really, protesting for a change in policies? I think he answered your question pretty well. Here's a really good one. And our friend Kevin had submitted as a question, how's your green smoothies diet going? Okay, that's, like, I actually didn't write that, although that is the name of my first book, The Green Smoothies Diet. But Virginia wants to know, John, do you eat super healthy? I would think yes. LOL.
I like to make sure I get healthy. She didn't think I ate healthy before we met, which okay, I didn't. I'd eat a lot of dessert, but I knew how to eat in a for like fitness competitions or stuff like that.
Yeah, you're kind of like preoccupied with
working out, eating.
You know what? This is where I started to fall in love with John, is that I think we'd been dating for maybe 2 weeks. And I said to him, have you ever had a green smoothie? And he said he didn't know. I'm like, how do you not know if you've had a green smoothie? So I made him this hardcore thing and I handed it to him and he just sat there and drank it. He didn't make a face and he wasn't high drama. And I was like, I like it. Because I've dated guys, like I dated my old high school boyfriend for a summer. He's an American Airlines pilot. He flew in and we were spending the weekend together. And I made him like my best stuff, like the pink smoothie. You're the best pink smoothie maker ever.
My smoothies are freaking delicious.
Yeah, beets and carrots. Just let me know if you make my pink smoothie, because actually, weirdly, even though I'm the green smoothie girl, it's actually my most famous smoothie recipe that literally thousands of people make. And John has become a master. But anyways, he drank the green smoothie and just no griping, no whatever. And so like I was just like, oh, you are my people, because like I grew up with 8 kids. You don't gripe about what you're fed. You're just lucky to get food when you grew up with 8 children, and he grew up with 14, right?
Yeah.
And he
13, but
one of your siblings died of SIDS as an infant. So yeah, so he does eat healthy. We went off of sugar completely January 1, and good job, still going. June, we're halfway through. It's not even hard, right?
No, I don't miss it at all, especially with everything that's going on.
He was a sugar junkie.
Especially with everything that's going on, like it couldn't have been a better time for us to quit sugar, because we haven't been sick once all year.
Winter.
Not even a sore throat.
You do not want to need medical care right now.
No.
Do you?
Oh, hell no.
This is the time to eat healthy if there ever wasn't, because you do not want to need medical care right now. That will completely suck. Okay, Elaine, I signed up for Telegram from my PC. I don't see anything. What do I need to do to find you? I don't think I have anybody from my team supporting down here, but just get on Telegram and then ping me in like private messenger and I'll get you in our group. You guys, if you're not on my group in Messenger, it's called Take Action for Freedom. I don't know the platform well right now, but it's growing fast. I think we have 600 or 700 people in there. We got to get off of Facebook, because I will get deplatformed. Not for talking about race issues. They want us talking about race issues. They want us at each other's throats. John and I have come to that conclusion. I've done hundreds of hours of research in the last 3 months.
They want you virtue signaling.
They want me genuflecting and wearing and carrying a Black Lives Matter. Yeah. And listen, somebody else said, hey, can some people feel differently about Black Lives Matter? I think that even people who are starting to figure out that it's funded by white racist leftists who want us to be in communism, even people like that, like people who are just like, yeah, but I want a Black Lives Matter movement. Maybe I don't want but that's like this very well-known. Can some people
and that's the thing, like with the protesters, that's the healthy movement, to protest in a healthy way. And there's a lot of video out there as well of the healthy protesters, which are the Black America, catching these Antifa, or I'm sorry, but they're primarily white kids. They're catching them, throwing bricks, breaking windows, graffitiing all over the place. And all these Black people are like, dude, what are you doing? We don't need that. And they're like, well, we're helping your cause. And it's like, no, you're not. You fake.
We didn't ask you to do this.
We're going to
get blamed for this.
Exactly. You're ruining the protest and we're going to make us look bad because you're destroying our neighborhood. How many Black-owned businesses, how many white-owned businesses were destroyed by these rioters and looters who aren't Target and whatever big store who was destroyed, who it's no thing for them to recover their losses.
You remember,
but if you're the mom and pop shop that just got blown up and looted, you're hurting. You're hurting bad right now.
Do you remember that video I was watching in the kitchen like a week ago? And it was actually a video that was made about right now, but it showed, I'm gonna start crying if I talk about it. I probably shouldn't even bring it up, but
yeah, the guy from the 92 Rodney King riots.
It was the Rodney King riots, and it was just this older Black gentleman who they had destroyed his business, and he came out of the business and he was sobbing, and he was like saying, why are you doing this? Why are you hurting me? You're not helping us. You're not helping your people. You're not helping any cause. And I just, as a business owner myself, whose business is, you know, really taking a hit from this, and 4 of my employees have left in the last week and a half, I just felt his pain, because you know what, there's small businesses owned by Black people, and we're hurting them with what we're doing. We're hurting them. Christy asks, how do you feel about the term white privilege? Does that, like, and you had to come over and give me a hug, and you had to hold me, like I couldn't even finish watching the video because I hurt so much for him, because a business isn't just a way you make a living, like your heart and soul goes into it. That video is devastating. That guy's heart and soul was on display of the pain that he felt when his business had been completely destroyed at the hands of rioters and looters in the name of lifting him up. Right. Exactly. And they're supposedly fighting for his cause, and they just completely destroyed the man's business that he had spent decades building. And most business owners, they're not rolling in the dough. They're barely making it in many cases. Yeah, they're making enough to take care of their family, hopefully pay their mortgage, put some money away, things like that, the traditional, you know, way that most people were living. And then once these rioters come through and looters and they destroy all that, then it's just kind of like boom. Whoever is behind this in the inner cities, whoever is funding it, Open Society, the Clintons, George Soros, they are guilty of treason. They are guilty of crimes against humanity. They are finishing off these minority-owned businesses, these small businesses in the inner city. As much as my business is taking a hit right now, I cannot imagine. Internet businesses, right? Imagine having a brick and mortar. If we had a brick and mortar business in one of these cities that has been targeted by Antifa and funded by these leftist organizations. I have these liberals who follow me, you know, they're just like friends that I've collected over the years, and they just, you know, hammer me every single day on every single post, and they won't see anything outside of what they think is this righteous cause. And all right, and I keep writing things down because it's you scroll past and so many comments come in. There's one thing I was going to talk about. It was white privilege. Yeah. And what was I going to say? Why do they use the term if it's so derogatory? I think that's what Becky's like. I didn't for a while there. I was like, I just barely understood here. I had a buddy kind of explain to me what it was, what the new age term white privilege means. Yeah, like because it's kind of made a resurgence. It from the way that I've seen it. And it's the fact that if a white kid goes out, you know, he leaves his folks home, drives to wherever, gets pulled over by a cop, he doesn't have to worry about getting harassed by the cop or getting treated extra harsh. Or doors open for him. Supposedly doors open for someone because they're white. Although there's plenty of white men who would say that quite the opposite is the case. Right. Yeah. The one that makes the most sense right now, or in for white privilege for me, is the fact that they don't have to worry about going out and getting beat up by the cops. Yeah. At least. Do you worry about getting beat up by the cops? Because lots of people. No, I've been pulled over plenty of times. I've had cops that were probably having a bad day, and I could tell they're being extra prickish to me, but they didn't you know, they didn't bully me or say anything, you know, snide or anything like that. So my experience is all right. But then again, there are Black folks who have to say that. And that's what really is sad is that is a real thing. The Black families who the parents have to tell their kid, hey, if you're going out and about and you're driving, make sure that you do practice this. Keep your hands where they can be seen. Don't, you know, be respectful to police, like be calm. Don't make, you know, however they walk them through the process of getting pulled over, that profiling is still a thing. And that's hopefully, you know, with police protocols, hopefully that gets reformed here coming up, to where, you know, doesn't matter who they're pulling over, what color their skin is, you know, they approach everybody the same way. Because it's not that Black people, we don't need any special treatment. We don't need you to coddle us and do shit like that. That's really disingenuous
and it's almost disrespectful and condescending, like, oh, hey, you make sure that I
Let me
handle
come
you
down
all
from my
good."
white privilege.
Yeah,
place
exactly,
and
right.
just make you feel okay about you. You already feel okay about you.
Yeah, we don't need it. It's like that with the NFL coming up, or with this just recently before all this shit started going crazy. The NFL was having to re-examine the Rooney Rule because the owners aren't hiring black coaches, and so they wanted to change the rule, or they're barely even interviewing black coaches who happen to be 70% of the current league and are the best players and have been forever, and they are coaches as well. Like, they'll retire from playing, and then a lot of them will move on to coaching, but they never get a chance to be a head coach for whatever reason. I've got my buddies that don't agree with that. They'll say the NFL is not racist, whatever. If it wasn't a thing, then I don't see why they would bring it up. But apparently it is a thing because they keep bringing it up, and they'll say it's the media, whatever.
So should we just bring it up less? Like, when this thing is over and hopefully it's over, can we all just talk about race less? Is that something you would say? Like, just put it to bed. We're done.
Well, I would just say, just like, what's wrong with treating everybody like a person? With black people, we don't need people to pat us on the back and make sure everything's okay. We're just functioning and focusing on our everyday needs just like anybody else. Don't need to be coddled to or anything like that in order to live every day. Treat us fucking fair. There's nothing wrong with that. Sorry.
I said, can you not say that one?
The F word.
I said, you do you, but can we just leave that one word? So Sue was in Switzerland with us last year. Hey, Sue, hope you're doing well. Last summer, she said you weren't that great of an eater. Thanks, Tattletale. No.
Hey, easy, Sue.
You've made a lot of progress even since last summer.
It was just dessert.
Well, now you've got enough sugar, so you've made a lot of progress. And then we have Kimberly said, do you have green smoothies every day? Do you use a juicer? You are mostly the green smoothies maker.
I make all our green smoothies.
I do the juicing.
Okay. You make some every now and then, but I make the majority of our
I would say
and you do the juice. I don't drink juice enough.
Yeah, but he cleans the juicer. I'd rather make the juice than clean the juicer. So he does great. I could not be happier with the fact that John is open-minded to what I say. I don't need him to eat what I say, but don't click. We'll actually bounce. Don't touch. Okay, what's the recipe, Kimberly? Okay, we'll get to that in a little while. So, all right, let me see if there's anything really important before we go. So, there's a very important question. Who is your favorite sister?
Who said that?
I'm telling you. I'm not telling you. Go.
I'm gonna guess that would be Tiffany that wrote that.
You're smooth. You're smart because you know that she follows me here.
I do.
All right.
Tiffany's definitely one of my favorites.
Good job. That's a very, very good answer, babe.
It's a three-way tie. Put it that way.
Okay, so I know that you have to get off to work, and so I just want to see if there's anything that people were like asking me over and over and over again, but I think you've covered Black Lives Matter. My brother Ben wanted to know, do you think, we can't get into Colin Kaepernick because he'll talk for 15 minutes. So Scott Openshaw, who is my cousin in Australia, we haven't ever met, but he's some kind of cousin probably. He wanted to talk about Colin Kaepernick or whatever.
I could touch on it lightly.
Okay, you have to give a 30-second version, go.
I didn't think that, I felt like Colin Kaepernick was open and honest about it right from the jump. And I was on board with that. I agree. Police posse, they've been mistreating Black Americans for a long time. Especially if you look at the origins of policing, it's pretty ugly anyway. It's comes from the KKK. So maybe that's why there's a problem with it. But just wrap it up. Colin Kaepernick, he wanted fair treatment from the police. He wanted the government to pay better attention to their veterans and take care of them. How many homeless veterans are on the street who also get harassed and picked on by the cops? Like, that's bull crap. And so that was his stance from the get-go. He took a knee for it. He called the guy that was military to ask, what's the most respectful way that I can do a protest? That's where he was told kneeling. That's what they say. That he was told kneeling is the best.
His heart was in the right place.
I feel like his heart was in the right place. Where he messed up was he sued the NFL. He won. He took the money, and then he never has been. He lost his job. He's never been hired ever since because he got blackballed.
It's too bad.
So he screwed up there. But now the NFL has to eat crow because like everybody's like he was right. Like what's happening across in America and across the globe.
There's too little saying I'm sorry and I was wrong. There's too little of that,
right.
and that probably should have happened there.
Right.
Okay, so last thing, do you think that, this is my brother Ben, do you think today's white people should have to pay today's black people for slavery reparations?
Oh, that's a spicy subject. I would say reparations, it's so hard because the beauty of the internet is it's given so many people, so many black-owned businesses the opportunity that they never would have had.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think Black America, I don't think we're looking for a handout. I don't feel like, yeah, we know, because we already know. We already know what was built, how this country was built, and how they took the free labor from the Black Americans who were the slaves, who were the backbone of the foundation of our country. So I think at this point, like there's other people that get reparations, so we should qualify more than anybody to get them. But I think we're above it, honestly. And I think the amount of black-owned businesses is a statement to the fact that we don't care. We're resilient. We're going to get out there and we're going to make our way anyway. Everybody takes from us as it is. What's the #1 export from America in the world? Hip hop culture.
Oh.
That's the #1 import.
That's what I meant. I was like, wait.
But the #1 export is hip hop culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that is all stems from the Black American experience, our music, our art, our culture, from the way we talk and handle ourselves, everything's from that. So we know what we are. We know what we're capable of. And while we're definitely entitled to a reparations for sure, we don't need that handout. We just need the opportunity. Quit stacking the deck, the cards against us, and we'll be fine.
It's a great answer. So John has to get to work, but I think, if we could make a statement together, check me if anything I say doesn't represent the both of us. But as we see certain special interest groups, and what Jane is saying here is exactly what I want to say. Treat people like people. We are the human race. I think that represents you and me.
Yeah.
And we love each other for the people that we are, and our race is not irrelevant. It's just, it's not something that we talk about or think about all the time. And we just want to love other people. Like, it's really, really simple. It's the golden rule. It's all are alike unto God, black and white, male and female, bond and free. And, I was not raised with that necessarily, like I think my parents made a big improvement over their parents because my grandparents were all super, super racist. When my cousin went to prom with a black guy, we had to hide it from my grandparents, and we had to make sure they didn't show up as my cousin was getting ready and whatever. And my own parents said you are not to date a black person, but they also didn't allow
people to disrespect,
terrible words. Like, we weren't allowed to say racist words. Right. And it was like they were halfway there. And it's our job to take it the rest of the way. So just love everybody. We don't need to go down on one knee. We don't need to be condescending. Maybe we need Black Lives Matter, but not that movement. That movement is super corrupted. And what's that word you always use? Infiltrated, hijacked by people who do not have the best interests of Black people at heart. And that, we don't want to throw away the baby with the bathwater. I want my Black brothers and sisters and my partner to rise. I want them to have every good thing in the world. Does that represent pretty well? You want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I want to add. Everybody, like when we go out on the weekends, and I'm pretty sure everywhere I've ever been, where there's a big mix of everybody out there. We all hang out together. I think we all know that when we go out in public, that there is no like overt racism going on. I think 98% of the American public is out there just interacting with each other, just living our best life every single day, and interacts with everybody from every single race that's in your life. From the stores you shop in to the places you get gas, like do business, whatever you do. America is such a melting pot now. Being racist doesn't benefit anybody.
Yeah, there's no place for it.
No, and so that's why it's so important for us to pay attention to the media and what they're feeding you, because as far as I can see, the only people trying to divide everybody seems to be the media. Because I mean, if you look on anybody's private page,
the leftist arm though is controlling the media,
right? And it doesn't take much. Look who owns the media. Look who controls the media. Look who, look how they censor your words. Like, what's wrong with people living, our First Amendment rights? That's what it's for. That's what America is all about, and that's what's under attack the most right now. And so if you look at who owns that, who operates that, then it's pretty clear who is behind the narrative that's being forced on us constantly. And so we're smarter than they are. They know they can't hold us down. They're trying as much as possible. Order through chaos. I wish I could remember the official words for it.
Is that an open society slogan? Yeah, they
It's
need the chaos. They need the
slogans
fighting. They
on
need the
blast.
divisiveness in
That's
order
the
to take over our
Freemason
government.
stuff.
The Freemasons are behind all of this.
Not all. Yeah, they're behind a lot of it. There's a lot of groups, so you could get into a different discussion for another day. But yeah, just pay attention to what the information that you're putting into that you're allowing into your space. And if you want to know, just do your homework. If you want to know, you'll find the answers for the truth, because it's out there. You just need to know what to look for. And I think everybody here probably does that. That's why they're here.
So thank you so much for everyone who gave us your thoughts and shared with us your experience. Please keep it going. If you have more to say, we'll look in there and share more with you in comments. So thanks for your questions. I really enjoyed finally interviewing you. I know this was just something we've never done before, but let you into our personal lives and our story of us together. And so thank you so much, everyone. And I'll see you soon.